Well, another weekend has come and gone, and the A's have won another series.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's as long as they're in Oakland, and I'll be here as long as I can. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan, but by all means, call me. Where's my lower third? There it is. You call me Sully. I have been a podcaster for well over a decade now, and I have finished 5 and now in the middle of my 6th season of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Follow us on Locked On A's on Twitter, whatever it's called now. Or on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. I'm also the host of the Locked On MLB podcast, and that is going on concurrently. I do Locked On A's and Locked On MLB. I do them both. I am here for you A's fans. And by the way, just so you know, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. And Jesus M comes right in and says the A's look like a 70-win team. Do you know what? I think you're right. And do you know what? Who would have thought that at the beginning of the year, huh? In fact, I was going to say something, but my buddy Jesus, who is one of the ones watching this right now on the live stream, has said it better and more succinctly than I can. Teams better not sleep on the A's. Well, I got news for you. I think teams that don't play in Cleveland are sleeping on the A's right now. The Indians, old habits die hard. The Guardians have the A's number. We all know that. They're the main reason why the A's have a sub 500 record. You don't believe me? They're 1-6 against Cleveland, and they are 10-9. No, 10-11. Sorry, they still have a sub 500 record. But still, that's a lot better than we thought we were going to see, huh? They got swept by Cleveland, or not so. They lost 3 of the first 4 games to Cleveland. The only game they won was the walk-off walk. Then they got swept by Boston, including the one in the 11th inning. All right, start the season 1-6. File that under yikes. File that under, oh boy, what are we going to do? After that date, the A's are 10-11, and that includes the 3-game sweep. So since they started the horrific homestand, they have had a winning record, save for the sweep against Cleveland. I know those games count, but every single team, I've said this all year long, and we're almost into May, so you can't use hey, it's only April. It's the 28th of April. I'm recording this. Happy birthday to my brother Ted. He doesn't care about baseball, but happy birthday to my brother Ted. But the A's have confounded teams left and right. And how do I know this? This is my favorite stat. Don't worry, we're going to break down the game. We're going to take a look at it because it's fun. They're winning games right now. This is where it's supposed to be fun. But the A's have played 4 rubber matches this year. 4 games. We're in a 3-game series. They've split. So there's that final game. Is it going to bounce this way or another way? All right? They've played 4 rubber games. Do you know how many they've won? 4! They're 4-0. In rubber games right now, which means those teams that face the A's, the Tigers lost the rubber game. The Rangers lost the rubber game. The Nationals lost the rubber game. And Baltimore lost the rubber game, okay? And Detroit, Texas, and Baltimore all lost them at home. And guess what those 3 teams all have in common? They all have images of a division title dancing in their head. Texas is the defending World Series champion. Baltimore's the defending division champion who made some huge acquisitions. Detroit's the defending nothing. That being said, they are a team that's playing in the weakest division going into the season and thought, hey, why not us? I'll tell you why not you. You can't beat the A's at home. They got off that phenomenal start. And Baltimore If Baltimore loses the division by a couple of games, then rewind the clock to late April when twice they went into the ninth inning with the lead, and twice they lost those games to Oakland. Folks, this is what you want to see. You want to see your team, for a team like the A's, where there was zero expectations for this team. In fact, when I took over the spot here, because, you know what? I took over the spot here because there was our previous host had to leave for reasons, and we'll get into that on another day. And nobody wanted the gig. No one wanted to step in. Do you know why? The same reason no one wanted to take the job as captain of the Titanic after it hit the iceberg. And as it's sinking and the band is playing and Kate and Leo are on the back going, oh no, look out, we're going to sink. I decided to say, hey, come on, I'll join the band playing as they're sinking. And guess what? So far, it's been fun. So, anyway, by the way, we have some of the regulars on here. Thanks for logging in. Zcor Alpha is asking me a couple questions about the Sacramento facility and, things along those lines. Zcor Alpha, I love you, but guess what? I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to have a little bit of fun. Remember fun? I know there's absolutely dreadful things going on behind the scenes with the A's right now, but they're winning baseball games. And in case you forgot, that's part of the fun of this. And nothing is more satisfying than seeing your team beat another club late. They beat the Yankees. They had a couple of, the 2-0 game where they scored the 2 runs in the ninth inning. And that pit in the stomach you saw in Yankee fans going, wait a minute, what's going on here? Or when the 2 games that Baltimore lost where they had the lead going into the ninth inning. And they'll go, wait a minute, we're supposed to win this game. That's right. Circle the A's on the calendar. Come on, do it. I dare you. I double dog you, dare you to circle it on your calendar and say, here comes an easy win. This is the time, folks. They're still your third place A's. Is 12-17 a great record? No, it's not. But there are 2 other teams. There's 2 other teams. Z-Corp Alpha, it's fun winning. I hope we win the World Series. I'm talking about stadium issues in 2025. Go talk about your stadium issues in 2025. I'm talking about the winning issues of 2024. Tom Baldwin, you're right. Sully's fired up. I am. I'll tell you why. When I took over this, I thought to myself, you know what? This is going to be rough. This is going to be rough to follow a team that has no hope and is going to suck. Well, there may not be a lot of hope, certainly not for 2025. But guess what? They can at least have some fun. We can have some fun following this team because they're not going to be here next year. And they're doing it. Spoiler alert. The A's are showing up. And that's right. GLS 33 loves seeing the team win. Don't care about much else. That's the point. Absolutely. Z-Corp Alpha, you're on the right track when you say, I hope they shock everyone. I tell you something, they've shocked the Yankees right now because the Yankees were looking and saying, all right, here are 4 easy games, and they split them. I know they shocked Baltimore, especially when Baltimore, the Yankees have improved greatly from last year. And I didn't think they were as good as the Yankees were good as they were when they won 99 games. I didn't think they were as bad as they were when they only won 82 games last year. I think they're somewhere in I think they're a high 80, low 90 win team. But Jesus M keeps saying the 1994 team shocked MLB. There was a strike in 1994, so I don't know really what you're talking about. They didn't win Piddly Poo that year. Anyway, I digress. They're shocking teams, and they've been doing it in a beautiful way because it mixes up. Sometimes they do it through their pitching. Today, they didn't get great pitching, so they got through their bats. But one thing they didn't do is they didn't fall prey to the tyranny of the save. They played for the best situation in some of these games, and the result was some big-time wins. So let's break down a little bit of what happened today and, quite frankly, what may happen when they go and face Pittsburgh. I know my mom's listening to this game or to this podcast. What is this? It's a game or a podcast. I know it is. It's a live stream, which means if I screw up the ad read, we got to plow through. Mom, I'm going to get you something for Mother's Day. So are your beloved grandchildren. But I'm not going to tell you what we're going to get. I'm not going to tell you if we're going to get you flowers for your island in the kitchen. I'm not going to tell you we're going to get you self-care essentials or the latest tech. My mom actually likes practical gifts that she can use because I used that thing today and it's so wonderful. I'm not telling you what we're going to get, but Mom, I'm telling you how we're going to get it. We're going to get it through DoorDash. And we may use same-day delivery or schedule a week ahead of time. We will get savings that will make you proud of us, Mom. And with Dash Pass membership, we will save on a $0 delivery fee, reduce service fees on eligible order with Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fees, apply, and terms apply. You too can order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 off your next order, up to $15 if you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail store offer. Order now on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Use DoorDash today. Terms apply. And Mom, don't worry, you'll get it. Okay, folks, I say time off. We got to pause here and talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on that play. You've already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with a friend to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include new mini games, plus digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. And there's always something new and fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go and download it now for free on Google Play or on the App Store. All right, folks, game back on. Hey, there's a new destination for sports fans to get you to all the best highlights, all the best news, and all the best commentary. The place you need to go from now on is the Locked On Sports Now 24/7 free sports streaming channel. It's available to bring the biggest stories with fresh new points of view. Locked On Sports Day brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This one, the both game. I talked a little bit the other day about the game against Baltimore, where they rallied against Craig Kimbrel, and alas, and then they wound up winning that game in extra innings. Now today's game was let's say today's game was a lot of fun. Today's game was big time fun. Brown homered in the second, giving the A's an early 1-0 lead. Then Colton Cowser doubled. And next thing you know, it was back to 2-1. But the A's came right back. When they fell behind 2-1, I thought I started writing this podcast in my head as if to say, oh boy, it's fun while it lasted. At least they showed up. But then Blade got the double, and all of a sudden it was tied. Rooker gets the 2-run single, took the lead. And that lasted for minutes because Rutschman homered and then Mountcastle homered. The Orioles can hit bombs. I don't care what they do with the fences. And then, it got to be 6-0 when Urias homered. And when it was 6-0, it just seemed bigger. It seemed like a bigger lead than it was 6-4. I'm sorry, I meant to say 6-4. It was 6-4, and they just felt bigger than that. It felt like they got their chance early. At least that's what it felt like to me. And the A's wound up chasing, Suarez didn't pitch particularly well, but Akin pitched well. And even though Colombo hit the, he let up the homer, but he, Webb, and Cano, it did, for some reason, the A's just didn't feel like they were clicking. It didn't feel, when Nevin hit the home run to make it a 1-run game, okay. But I'm telling you, the nanosecond I saw Kimbrel warming up, I said to myself, A's are going to win this game. The A's are going to win this game. And I talked about this the other day. Kimbrel has saved a bunch of games in his career. I know. I'm looking right now at his. I almost said his IMDb page. His BaseballReference.com, the single greatest website in the history of planet Earth, states that he has saved a lot of games. He's been an all-star. I've heard people burp his name as a potential Hall of Famer, and we're going to talk about a Hall of Fame closer in the final segment of this game. But I remember him in the 2018 playoffs with the Red Sox, and how unreliable he was. I've seen him blow big game after big game after big game, or at least do such a high wire act that you don't feel its amount of confidence. And he came out and couldn't find the strike zone. Now, to be fair, Rob Drake, the home plate umpire, squeezed Baltimore and had a pretty wide zone for the A's. You got to admit that. The pitches he was calling balls with the A's at the plate, he was calling strikes against Baltimore. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Kimbrel couldn't throw a strike. And he just was going everywhere. And I'm like, when I saw that he was, that he just was not getting it in, and Hernandez was like, I think he walked on 4 pitches. I may be wrong, but I think that's the case. I thought that first walk came and said, they're going to tie the game. They're absolutely going to tie the game. And truth be told, Kyle McCann's at-bat was absolutely tremendous because, Kimbrel got the visit for the trainers up to say, are you hurt? Because you must please tell me you're hurt. No, Skip, I can do it fine. And then McCann got, 3 balls and then 2 strikes on him, and he kept fouling him off. Now, I kept mumbling to myself when Kimbrel was pitching. I started thinking, throw it in the dirt. Come on, just throw it in the dirt. And if you saw me while I was driving my car listening to the game, you would have seen me mumbling, throw it in the dirt. Real sort of sling blade like, throw it in the dirt. And he fouled off. I'm thinking, like, oh, man. And I said, we've got to the point where even if he strikes out, it's a good at-bat because Kimbrel has thrown approximately at that point 470,000 pitches. And then it happened. He didn't throw it in the dirt. He threw a pumpkin, like Green Goblin throwing his pumpkins, right down the heart of the plate. And McCann did not miss it. Kyle McCann took a big cut and watched this majestic fly ball barely make it over the wall, but it was gone. And at that moment, I started thinking to myself to Brandon Hyde, the manager of the Baltimore Orioles, you big dummy. What are you doing bringing Kimbrel in? What do you do? Well, you saw he didn't pitch well the other day. He gets the most saves. That's the tyranny of the save. He has a lot of saves, therefore he's the guy to use. He already has 3 blown saves this year. You may note that. We're still in April. He already has blown 3 games as a closer. And by the way, 2 of them were to the Oakland A's. Maybe you don't bring him in that game. All I know is it's a bad sign because I'm rooting for the A's in this game. And when I saw Kimbrel warming up, my first thoughts were, oh, good. And boom, out of the ballpark it goes. Now, Tate came in, got him out of the inning, and then the A's did not make it Miller time. Miller threw back-to-back game, and I was surprised at first. And I thought, wait, it's Miller time. He could close it out. He looking at the long pitcher. Give Kotze credit. He knew Urseg would be an effective pitcher. And lo and behold, he pitched, got 2 strikeouts and got the weird little, who was in, Brown came in and did a little hop because he misread the fly ball. But they didn't fall for the tyranny of the save in that you have to go to the same guy to save the game every day. They had already seen Miller. Maybe they would have squared up on him. All I know is that Ursa came in and he made them look foolish. Mateo, his strikeout, he looked foolish. Now, granted, Ursa was getting pitches that Kimbrel wasn't getting. We all got to admit that. But now you have arrested Miller. You won the series against Baltimore. And now they get to fly home tonight. And they're going to be in Pittsburgh on tomorrow. And Pittsburgh is a team that, you know what? They're a fluctuating team. Some points of the year, they look absolutely tremendous. And other points this year, they look pretty dang bad. But all I know is the road trip is over. It started like a Freddy Krueger movie. Just awful. Not that all Freddy Krueger, but I'm thinking like as if Freddy Krueger was killing us. Please understand my analogies. And now they came back thinking like, hey, lost one series, split another, and won another. We would have all begged for that at the beginning, especially after the sweep. So feel good. This feels now you got to go back to the A's stadium. All right. Now, and some people are wondering, what's the crowd's going to be like there? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Show up, fans. Show up big time. And I have a little announcement to make. This weekend, I am going to the game on Saturday between the A's and the Marlins. So if you're going to be at that game, let me know. I'm going to remind you of this all throughout this week. If you want to say hello, maybe get one of those little plastic helmets with the nachos in it or whatever you want to do, come let me know. But let's support this team because do you know what? This wasn't a bad trip. Got off to a rotten start, but you can't ask for much more than this from a team that, well, let's be honest, didn't have a lot of hope going into it. But here we are. And because I'm doing a live stream, when there is a technical problem, I really can't come up and vamp for too much longer. Hey, do you know what time it is right now? It's time for the best time of the year to be a sports fan. You got the NBA and the Stanley Cup Finals, or playoffs at least, going on right now. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is here for you to place a bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in one app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, it is America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has begun the first ever national sports streaming channel on YouTube, and it's now available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local extras of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. On the latest edition of I Bet You Forgot They Were on the A's, who is the greatest closer in Oakland A's history? Well, that's an interesting debate. Some of you may say Raleigh Fingers because he was one of the ones who revolutionized the position of the closer. Then there's the other revolutionary closer who was Dennis Eckersley, who was fading as a starting pitcher. And then Tony La Russa basically redefined what the closer is supposed to be. And Eckersley absolutely secured it. Now, one person who definitely will put himself in that conversation is Goose Gossage. Rich Gossage, along with Bruce Sutter and with Raleigh Fingers, were part of that crew that really started becoming the first superstar closers. Also with Sparky Lyle, who won the Cy Young Award as a closer. But Gossage, who began his career with the White Sox, and at one point the White Sox put him in the starting rotation and said, what are we doing? This guy's such a talented pitcher. but he found his place as the closer. First with the White Sox, and then eventually found himself with the Pittsburgh Pirates for a season before heading off to the New York Yankees as a free agent. And, well, Gossage had ice water in his veins, closed out the 78 playoff against the Red Sox and eventually the World Series that year, was an all-star many times over, became a millionaire several times over, and also lost a couple of big games and wound up clashing with George Steinbrenner. It turns out Rich Gossage was a bit of a prickly pear. He wound up going to San Diego and helped pitch them to the World Series, but didn't pitch particularly well in the World Series. He went to the Cubs to try to take over for Lee Smith, who had been traded away, but that didn't quite work out. He went to the Giants. He went back to the Yankees to finish up the 1989 season, and then went to Japan. That's what a lot of players did. If they felt like things were wrapping up in their career, they would go to Japan to pick up one more big paycheck. And he didn't pitch that great in Japan either. But he came back to America in 1991. He did okay with the Texas Rangers. And then he came to the A's. And in 1992, he was the setup man for Dennis Eckersley. That's right. You would go Gossage to Eck. And he got the hold in a bunch of games. And while he didn't start off particularly well, he eventually became a pretty effective middle reliever for the A's, usually coming in the eighth inning. He didn't record a single save, but he would come in, pitch 2 innings here, an inning there, pitch 2 2 2/3 scoreless innings a couple of times, and provided the A's some much-needed relief until the injury bug took over, and in July, his season ended. He wound up pitching the next year as well, but alas, that was that. He finished his career with the 1994 Mariners, and when the strike hit, that ended his career. Gossage seemed to be pretty bitter that Dennis Eckersley got into the Hall of Fame before he did. But then again, Gossage seemed to be pretty bitter about a lot of things, which kind of made me shake my head thinking, Rich, you're a Hall of Famer who's instantly recognizable, who got to clinch a World Series championship and play alongside many, many Hall of Famers, including Willie Stargell, including Catfish Hunter, including Dave Winfield and Reggie Jackson, and yes, including Dennis Eckersley. So I wonder if the A's had Rich Gossage in the playoffs in 1992, if they would have gotten past the Toronto Blue Jays and maybe pitched their way into yet another World Series. We'll never know, but blink and you would have missed Hall of Famer Rich Gossage, who, despite him grinding his teeth, did set up Dennis Eckersley. I bet you the whole time he was thinking, I should be closing. I should be closing. Well, I should be closing this one. Let me see if there's anything left in the comments section. I just think it would be awesome to see the A's win the entire show like a Major League film from 1989. I got news for you, Z Corp Alpha. The Indians, that's what they were called then, the Indians didn't win the World Series in Major League. That shows you how cursed Cleveland is. They can't even win when it's fiction. And J. Kyle writes, Kimbrel didn't disappoint with being ineffective. That's the spirit. That's the spirit. And Z Corp Alpha gives us the best reason why the A's are going to have a terrific finish to the season. They won't face Cleveland again this year unless we meet again in October. Now that's how I like it. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, or on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Pointing out the fact that rubber games go to the A's, and a lot of these series do too. This has been Locked On A's, dropping on the 28th day of April, 2024. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.